Okay, on a rail trail next to Sheepskin Hollow. In fact, I think that's the tree that used to have the sign on it that said Sheepskin Hollow, but at any rate, this here is a spice bush. Looks a lot like, it's like Calycanthus something or other, but the Calycanthus has opposite leaves, Spicebush has alternate leaves, and these are the little berries starting to form. Only the female plants have berries. They're kind of like a holly in that respect. The berries are used as a spice. The leaves can be used as a spice, or a tea can be made out of them. Really nice citrusy smell. Some people describe it as spicy. I think it smells citrusy to me. Another interesting thing right here, that's a wild hydrangea blooming there. Big flat panicle of flowers there. Very small flowers, but I'll just zoom in. Hopefully it focuses good enough. But yeah, they grow bigger than that, but a lot of times they're not much past knee high or waist high. Sometimes they can get like 4 feet, but a lot of times they bloom when they're little like this. And this big expanse right here with the sort of really dissected, almost maple shaped leaves here. These things have a couple of thorns on them. This is in the, you can kind of tell by looking, it's in the gooseberry and oh, what do they call it? It's ribes. There's gooseberries and currants. Drawing a blank on currants there for a minute. But a lot of times you see these, but you rarely ever see one with fruit. Now, where the hell did it go? I saw a fruit on this thing a minute ago. Where are you at? There you are. But see, even the fruit there's kind of a little bit thorny on this. Those little berries there. They're not ripe yet. Might come back here later when they're ripe and try to see what they taste like. Maybe save a few seeds and try to plant them. But this is a native gooseberry. In general, gooseberries are thorny and currants are either fuzzy or thornless. They call it hispid. It's like really stiff bristles. Not sure if you can see it through the tree, but there's another gooseberry out there. But at any rate, moving on. This is right across the trail, basically. Not seeing anything left of them, but these would have flowered back in spring. This stuff here is wild ginger, not related to ginger at all, but has a similar scent and flavor. Most places it doesn't grow abundantly enough to really take any and try using for a spice, but you'll find it in moist-rich woods like this. Okay, these guys here, they haven't bloomed yet, but these are black cohosh. They've got these compound leaves. Look like this. They're like double serrated, I think they call that. They're kind of on the borderline between being lobed and being serrated, even in some cases. A lot of variability on them. Most of them look about like this, but some of them are a little bit more. Then they got these spikes, and these spikes right here will have a bunch of white flowers in the near future. So, yeah. A little past its prime, but this is a plant called a waterleaf. Has these sort of, I guess they're kind of maple leaf shaped, but not exactly. And these are the flowers, the white flowers. And see, these ones are already done and getting ready to go to seed. There's one up there that looks like a deer ate it, but yeah, not as much interesting on this particular trip. I've already kind of crossed over the creek. Maybe I'll take some shots of the creek on the way back, but investigating some new territory along the Jeep trails over here. See what else I can find that's interesting. just a very small cluster of wild hydrangea there. Not much else on this slope. Moving on. So deer was just going crazy a second ago over here. I think he'll cross my path in a second. Of course, I turn on the camera, he don't do nothing. Oh well. Heard him again, now he stopped. Just wait until I put the camera away and then he'll come walking across the trail. Oh, any rate, a lot of this stuff around here. This is Impatiens. Not sure if it's capensis or Pelita. They look about the same until they flower. Capensis has orange flowers that are kind of spotted, and the Pelita, sometimes it's a creamy white, but most of the time it's a solid yellow. And this stuff, of course, more or less an antidote for poison ivy. Works a little bit on bug bites and bee stings and things like that too. So, a good plant to know. It's got a juicy hollow stalk. Don't want to break that off, but at any rate, I'm going to move on. I would generally think, being shorter, this is probably capensis, but like I said, it's easier to tell when it's actually got a flower on it. It's a neat little seep here, a lot of mossy rocks. It's going on 8:30, so I think I'm gonna turn around. I want to at least make it back to the rail trail before it gets dark. Not that worried about it, but you know, there are a couple of crossroads here and there. Downhill gets me to the creek, obviously, so it's not like it's the easiest place to get lost, but just in case I slip and bust my ass or something, try to get back before night. I don't have a flashlight with me, I don't think. I usually keep one in my little pack that I carry, my little fanny pack thing where I carry my drinks in that, but I think I took it out for something and forgot to put it back in, so at any rate, I'm gonna head back. This is kind of a short adventure. I really didn't take that many pieces of footage here. Yeah, nothing on this. This is a Mayapple. Don't see any apples on it. But at any rate, I'm going to head back down slope here and see what I can see. Just an example of how things play tricks on you. Saw these flowers over here. And like, this one's over by this grassy stuff, and this one's over by this stuff here with the opposite leaves. And then I realized, you know, I'm thinking, it kind of looks like clover, but I don't see any clover, and I really don't see any leaves there. They're kind of really hidden around this flower and that flower, but then you look over here and you can see, yeah, it's just clover growing in and among everything else, and it kind of gives you the false impression that the flower belongs to a different plant than what it actually goes to. So, just something to look for whenever you're trying to identify stuff in the woods. Make sure who goes with what. The opposite leaf stuff has these little white flowers here. Kind of neat. Maybe I'll look this up when I get back, but it almost looks like a type of chickweed or something, but at any rate, heading back. Okay, this guy right here got the smooth gray bark and got these almost but not quite heart-shaped not symmetrical leaves here. This is a Linden, Tilia americana. Sometimes they call it Basswood. In Europe, at least like British English, they call these things lime trees. No idea what the reason is, but they call them lime trees over there. These trees are good to know because they're very useful. Like, these leaves are as good as lettuce or spinach. You can eat these, you can make a salad out of them, you can just eat them right off the plant. Even when they're a little bit older like this, of course the fresh young ones in spring are the best. These are kind of old and bug bitten and that, but you know, even the older ones, they're not bitter or anything like that. They're less bitter than kale. They're less tough than kale. Grab a piece of this one. It's not that torn up or anything. But yeah, even that big old leaf, not really bitter. It's kind of like eating romaine or something. And there's a guy, I watched a thing, this guy Ray Mears, he's a British bushcraft guy. He was in Eastern Europe, and of course, like I said, over in Europe they call these things lime trees, and there's a different species that lives over there. But they actually, like some local bushcraft guy made him a pair of shoes out of the bark of one of these trees. So the bark of these is very useful as well. They get a little older, the bark doesn't stay quite that smooth, but it still is a gray barked tree. I can't really pick out the parent tree out of the ones right around me here, but it'll have these little bunches, and the bunch itself has like a wing on the stem, and it'll have all these little like nutlets hanging in the fall, and that's how it has seeds. But at any rate, very useful tree, good one to learn. Like I said, they're trying to find a leaf that's not too chewed up here, but they're almost but not quite heart-shaped, and they're a little unsymmetrical. You can kind of see, like, this one comes back a little bit more than the other side's a little bit more just curved. And you know, it's got teeth along the edge here, kind of finely toothed. I guess a little fuzzy on the underside. Not really bad. I mean, it's not like eating a peach or something when you eat these. It's very palatable. You make a salad out of these, a little bit of salad dressing. This would compare to, you know, your spring mix or whatever. It's a strangely good wild edible. A lot of things, especially if they get bigger, even like dandelions, which, you know, people grow on purpose, or even lettuce. Lettuce reaches a certain age, it starts to bolt, gets milky sap. I always tell people who complain about dandelions being bitter, it's like, well, if you wait till lettuce goes and flowers and goes to seed, it's kind of bitter and has milky sap too. So this is actually a very good salad green when it's got branches low enough where you can harvest a few leaves. Obviously, you don't strip all the leaves off of a little tree like this, but at any rate, heading back down to the creek. You can see the creek right there. Cross over and get back onto the rail trail. Okay, this poor broken tree here is a hawthorn. Looks a lot like an apple tree. It's got leaves that are sort of wider towards the end. They're almost like spatula shaped. And it has not a whole lot of thorns on this one. Usually these things are full of thorns, but you can see the green fruit there. The fruit's good to eat. They usually don't get much bigger than this. They're small trees. Birds love the fruit. I'm actually surprised because don't see a lot of thorns on this. Actually, I'm not seeing any thorns on it. So maybe this is just a naturally thornless one here, which is kind of unusual. But at any rate, moving on. I'm sure they'll, well, I guess he's still going. Hopefully that picks up on film. Lightning bugs are starting to come out. I know some parts of the country don't really have them. To some extent, I think it's just they're not native everywhere, and to another extent, I think they've been wiped out by pesticides a lot of places. So, see those little blinks every now and then in the bushes. Later on, when it gets darker, they'll be out flying around. Right now, they're still on the ground, just kind of on the weeds and such. So, at any rate, moving on. A little baby frog or toad here. Oh, there he goes. Where did he go? There he is. Making his way out and about on a rainy night. See if I can get him to hop on. There we go. Get him to hop on my hand so you can get a better look at him. Hopefully this focuses. Yeah. Out and about. Oh. Let him go off the trail here. Be safe, little one. And of course there's an airplane going over, but thought I'd get you some footage of beautiful Beaver Creek here. Trail on the other side. That's what the downstream direction looks like. It's pretty nice. There's a little bit of Japanese knotweed there and a bigger patch over there, but most of this is fairly natural around here, so yeah. I'll see what else I can find on the other side here. It's starting to get dark though. Getting a little dark here, but this guy here with that type of bark, largest hardwood east of the Mississippi. It's a tulip poplar, Liriodendron tulipifera, and it's got almost like stripes on the bark. It's just the way the furrows go, but it's fairly smooth. It looks a lot like an ash tree, but ash trees generally don't get this big. And being that we got some actually a little sucker shoot here, and also not sure if he's a seedling or what. It's a good look at the leaves. They got these symmetrical, they're almost like a if a maple leaf was 4-lobed instead of 5 or 7-lobed, because yeah, it's got a notch in the middle, or it's almost flat but it's kind of notched a little bit. A little bit of variation. You can see the other ones there, but some say it's named after the flower, and some say it's named because if you look at the leaf like that, it's kind of like the shape of a tulip. Another distinct feature is it's got these little hangers on near the base of the leaves here. Most of these trees don't have a sucker shoot down this low, and it's kind of hard to identify it as far as leaves whenever they're big. But at any rate, there's a bunch of them around here. Just thought I'd note that while still got a little bit of daylight. The rail trail's just up on that hill. This thing just snakes around a bit before it gets back up there, so probably about a mile or so to get back to the car. Some sort of sedge flowering here, but at any rate, moving on. Well, I hope you found that video informative. Hopefully it made you think, and Please click the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and check out the video that should be appearing somewhere around me here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.